What up guys, JP back at you once again, bringing you guys another Top 10 Tuesday. This is a weekly series in which I count down my 10 favorite horror films within a certain topic or theme, and this week it is my top 10 favorite zombie films. Now this is crazy because I have not done a top 10 zombie film video before. That is very surprising. For all the years that I've been on YouTube, I've never done one. It was a little tricky to come up with my list because at first I was wanting to leave certain titles out because, you know, too much of the same, but then I was like, I want to do my top 10 favorites, you know, my real favorites, so I had to leave them in. Another thing, guys, is I am not including films such as Quarantine or The Crazies or 28 Days Later or even voodoo zombie films. I'm going more traditional, just Romero-style zombie films for the most part. And even though I wanted to include stuff like 28 Days Later, I knew that the haters would get on me about that because they're not technically zombie films. I know. Even though I've argued against that. Zombies, I mean, you wouldn't really consider Dead Girl or Jason Lives a zombie film, right? I mean, they die and come back to life, but you wouldn't consider those zombie films. So 28 Days Later is more of a zombie film than any of those, and, you know, it's a long drawn out situation, but anyway, let's move on past that. So coming in at number 10 we have The Dead, and I really wanted to put Dead Snow here, but I decided to go with The Dead. And basically over quality, this is a much stronger film. I gotta say, I've only seen this one time, but it has stuck with me. You know, it's one that I remember being just dark and depressing and dry, and just this film that has this over sense of dread and impending doom attached to it, and I just love that feeling to the film, so that's why I've always sort of remembered it as being a really good zombie film. Very throwback, very much the type of zombie film that I love and wish would be happening more often. The Dead is very, very good. Solid film. Coming in at number 10. Coming in at number 9, we have Dead Alive. I actually don't own this film. Unfortunately, it is out of print, but I remember the first time I watched this film, I was hanging out with this friend of mine, and we were just surfing Netflix, and Dead Alive was on Netflix, and it just sounded interesting, so she said we should watch it, and I hit play, and I had heard of this film before. I heard about how it was super gory, and we start watching it, and it was just really funny at first. Like, we were both cracking up at the thing with the rat monkey, and then all of a sudden it just got super disgusting when they're at the dinner table eating, and they're just like, pus is dripping in the soup and stuff. I mean, it is just something else, and it just gets more and more gory from that point on. I couldn't believe the amount of gore. It's one that I've been wanting to revisit because I haven't seen it since then, and unfortunately I did pass it up on Blu-ray or on DVD many times for like $5 at an FYE. They had like this many freaking copies of it, and I just passed it up, and I've always regretted passing it up, but hopefully it'll get a Blu-ray release someday. Not really your traditional style zombie film, but still a lot of fun with tons of comedy, that sort of New Zealand humor. Peter Jackson, good stuff. Coming in at number 8, we have the classic Lucio Fulci, Zombie. Yeah, this film is one that I didn't really love the first time I saw it, and really I feel like that's the case with a lot of Italian cinema, or at least maybe I didn't like Italian cinema at first, but now that I've sort of understood it and see that it's a lot of style over substance, I've found my bearings with it, and I got a strong standing point with it, and I actually really like Italian cinema now. And Zombie I'd probably seen at a time where I just didn't understand it at the time, so since then Zombie has really grown on me, and I really do love this film now. It's a great horror film. You know, it's scary, it has gross out moments, the eye scene is classic, zombie versus shark is classic, even though the film might be a little bit off for people who are maybe uninitiated into Italian cinema. Those who have gotten a little bit more familiar with it, I say give this a rewatch if you didn't like it at first, and I definitely think Zombie is a classic. Good stuff. Coming in at number 7 is a newer film, and that is The Battery. I absolutely loved this film. I could not believe how good it actually was. This film, with the test of time, has even a potential to make it higher on this list in future iterations of the list, because it's just a movie that I think is so strong that it's not really gotten its due yet. I mean, it was highly praised, but for the simplistic nature of this movie, it's the music, the just slow setting, and just the narrative with the two baseball players. There's so much going on in this film. I did a entire podcast review of this film with the 22 Shots guys, so if you are curious to hear that, I believe it's in the 20s, mid 20 episodes, like 24, 25, 27, I think, or 26. It's somewhere around there. And we praised the hell out of this film, loved it. There's so many good things about this movie. I mean, I could literally pick it apart, which I did, and go scene for scene on why it's good. The only issue that I have with the film whatsoever is just a little bit of an issue with one of the actors, just slightly off at times, but that's it. I mean, The Battery is fantastic. If you haven't seen it, check it out. Coming in at number 6, we have another non-traditional zombie film, and that is Cemetery Man, directed by Michael Suave, I believe. This dude is really good, and I wish he would have continued directing films. This is another film that I absolutely was blown away with. It has so much symbolism and subtext in the film, all these messages and meanings that you really have to look into. There's a lot of theories on this film on what things actually mean. There's a lot going on here, and it's a very beautiful film. Dying for a Blu-ray transfer. It's truly a beautiful Italian film. I love it. The lead actress is smoking hot. Just a great, interesting, intriguing film that makes you think. It's such a genuinely entertaining watch, because you're just confused and you're wondering what's going on, and then you have all these questions and you begin to answer them at the end of the film. It's one that I had a lot of fun with. It's definitely worth your time and effort to track down, because this one is actually out of print as well. Cemetery Man's classic stuff though. Breaking into the top 5, we have Dawn of the Dead, the original. Dawn of the Dead is a movie that I always say that I'm not the biggest fan of, and what I mean by that is because it's Moods' favorite horror film of all time, I just mean like I don't put it in my top 10 even, probably. And it's I don't know, there's just certain things about the movie that keep it out of my top 10. But with that said, it's still an amazing movie. I absolutely love it. It's such a good zombie film. I have the Ultimate Edition here. It has the theatrical cut, the extended cut, and the European cut, which I've actually never watched the European cut. Next time I watch this film, I will watch the European cut. It's set in a mall in my neck of the woods. The mall's only like less than an hour away from me. I've been there a few times. It's pretty cool. A lot has changed since the 70s, but this is like sort of your mega zombie movie. This is the biggest of the zombie movies that we've seen around this time and up until this point. It's really, really good. I absolutely love Dawn of the Dead. Not the biggest fan of it though compared to Moods. Coming in at number 4, we have Night of the Living Dead, 1968. You have to have Night of the Living Dead in any zombie list. I mean, it's classic. It's the one that started it all. It literally created the zombie genre as we know it today. Yeah, of course there were voodoo zombies out before that with films like White Zombie, but this is the modern zombie. This is the zombie that is most important, and it is probably one of the best horror films ever made, and it is the most influential horror film of all time, in my opinion. Me and Moods and Jeremy named this the most influential film of all time when we did our episode 50 on the podcast. It holds up. I actually have the colorized version here. It actually does have the black and white version as well, but I've actually never watched the colorized version, but I'm actually interested to check that out if we ever cover this on the podcast again. City of the Living Dead. I got it in the Fulci 3-pack collection here from Blue Underground. City of the Living Dead is one film that I watched again back when I wasn't really into Italian cinema, and I just thought it was kind of cool. And I remember the gut scene where the two in the car are throwing up their guts. That's one thing that stuck in my head for a long time, and I wasn't really crazy about the movie. We covered it on the podcast, and I absolutely loved it, and it's one that I think I'll go back to a lot now. It just has this great atmosphere and just this dark nature to it, this dark tone that I love, and it almost has like dreamlike qualities to it. Like I truly do really love City of the Living Dead, and it's been steady growing on my favorite horror films list. I actually almost want to pop it in and watch it right now, because just thinking about certain scenes, it's awesome zombie film. Not as traditional of zombies like we know them, like Romero zombies and stuff, but it's still pretty good. And coming in at number 2, we have Day of the Dead, 1985, in my top 15 favorite horror films of all time, if not my top 10. This is a classic zombie film. This is Romero's best in my opinion, and it is everything that I love in a zombie film. You have destruction and corruption within a core group of characters who are at each other's throat, picking sides, high stress pressure cooker environment which makes the characters explode, and you have the massive threat of the zombies. And this film makes them feel very threatening, even though they're in this underground bunker. They're kind of with their backs against the wall when the zombies really start flowing, and the gore is fantastic. Tom Savini. The score is fantastic. The setting is fantastic. Once again, in the home area of Pennsylvania where I'm from. The directing is fantastic. The writing is fantastic. The dream sequences are fantastic. Everything is fantastic in this movie. The characters, the acting, everything. I don't even have a complaint with Day of the Dead. To take zombies and actually make them more intelligent in terms of like starting to talk and understanding things, it's usually something I hate in zombie movies. It was done so delicately by George A. Romero in Day of the Dead that impresses me. So Day of the Dead, number 2, and well worth it. Coming in at number 1, my favorite zombie film of all time, we have The Return of the Living Dead. Absolutely love Return of the Living Dead. The first time I seen it, I liked it. It is just a movie that grows on you more and more. No matter how much you like it more and more with more viewings. It's one that I can watch over and over and over again. I remember when I first seen it, I actually found it very scary, and I missed out on all of the comedy. When the two characters, one played by Tom Matthews, are in the warehouse, and he's like, "Have you ever seen that movie Night of the Living Dead?" That creeped me the hell out when I was younger, and it just, the whole concept of these undying monsters, and I love the ending to this film, and there's so much about it that I liked after multiple viewings with the punks and stuff, and the music is good, and Trash, the iconic Linnea Quigley graveyard scene, my god, and just the comedy works so well because it's subtle. You could totally mistake it as not comedy. Has two of the most iconic zombies ever in the film. They added all this new ideas and concepts to zombie films, like the running and the non-brain shots, and there's just so much to this film. Absolutely love it. Have the Blu-ray here. I have not cracked this bad boy open yet, but I'm going to soon. So that is my top 10 favorite zombie films of all time. I know it was Romero heavy, guys, but let's face it, Romero made 3 of the best zombie films ever, and I can't not put them on the list. I was even half tempted to put the remake of Night of the Living Dead on the list, but I just right outside the top 10. See you guys with another video next time. Peace.